What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to talk about probably one of my favorite decks so far coming into the format and where I'm thinking of it going in the future. I've taken this to a case tournament. I've taken this deck to many locals and many regionals. So I figured it'd be good just to do a discussion video of how I evolved this deck from its original concept. So guys, hopefully let's get into this video and talk about it. So guys, as you know, this deck isn't really an original concept. This guy right here on Twitter, go follow him, you can find his username here, is the originator of this list. He came up with it and was able to win his DCU, the Japan finals announcement, with this deck. He also topped in his own event in the finals to get to his world invite, I think, with the same list. And to take this into concept is that this list is a very powerful, consistent list. The only thing we don't have access to right now are the two shuffles. And I think this is what holds it back a lot, is not having access to those two cards. This deck is really good if you know, and you're a very confident pilot and you're able to do everything you need to with it. It's gonna do all you can, but definitely shuffling the shuffles really hurt not having it. So I'm gonna be straight honest with you, that is a big contributor to this style of play. But it's really good to see where it all comes from, and he's a really good talk to. If you ever have questions on this, hit him up. He has a plethora of information and matchup descriptions and stuff like that. He helped me get a better understanding, which got me to understanding my lists and everything like that. He also has a complete, if you pay for it, I think it's only like $1, and you get full access to his cup of Joe. Basically, it just spills the whole tea on matchups, why he thinks this is the better version paired to the black version, and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, taking this into account, it's a really good deck. And this is where where I got my basis of thinking, like, this is the deck I really want to play. Because after a little bit of doing research, because even from the get-go, this was the deck I wanted to play, the Dorugoramon. And I was playing black base originally, and that was kind of the thought process, was I'm going to play black base and enjoy that. Then this deck came out. He topped with it, and it was a big 5-head kind of style of play. You really have to think about your moves. You have to make really conscious decisions when designing this deck of play. You know, you can get super rewarded from cycling your pieces in the trash, which is really good. That's what you kind of want to do. And getting this information to understand going forwards is really good. And taking this into account, I had multiple conversations with him and where I'm going with it. He's got suggestions too, and it's not bad. So first off, this was my original list concept. I know it's slightly different than what he played, but I wanted to play it a little bit more synergized wise. So I figured having these both Lugamons at full playset really made some difference. But when my first kind of case event, I got there a little bit last minute, so I didn't have crazy amount of time to really set it up, because I was testing Takamazuchi at the time and getting good results with it. And at the end of the day, what really hurt me in that event was Takamazuchi, and then the Mumzemon deck really ruined my run. I lost the event because of that, and that was vitally important to take this into account. But I really thought from the get-go was Calling from Darkness was a very needed for this deck. I looked at and I was like, we can't really multi-attack very often, especially if there were situations where if I swing out and both my Digimon don't die, I needed a way for DexDorugoramon and Dorugoramon to restand to get that final little bit of extra damage in, because if their board is cleared, that's how you're going to get that win. So that's kind of where my thought process was with Calling. This was supposed to be a consistency. We had Analog Youth at a full play set because I thought Analog Youth was just that needed of a card that you needed to have it at a full play set because you want to get your pieces in the trash. And I feel like consistency wise, Analog Youth is a very powerful card for consistency. Wisdom Training, consistency. The Wolf is consistency, and being able to play a body is really important. But as you can see, this is a card I was playing at 3, Metal Impulse. So Metal Impulse was in here for multiple reasons in the original concept and design of this deck. I'm not even joking. Was in here for the Imperial Digimon matchup, the Mirage matchup, matchups that I needed to de-digivolve the threat off the board. And that was vitally important. I even thought about using it for Mumzemon as well because it did come up at time to time. Metal Impulse definitely saved my butt during this case of tournament, but there was times I was just tossing it away too. And sometimes Metal Impulse on a Takamazuchi definitely gets it off the board and you're able to win the game that way. And that is why we kind of went with this. And this is just where I started my list journey on. So then, as you guys know, I went to the Niagara Regionals with this deck because I was very confident that with the restrictions, this deck had a lot better footing. The only deck it really had to worry about was Imperial Digimon. So taking that into the information, I definitely figured out how we go about it. I didn't drop a single match completely until, guess what? I didn't lose until the Imperial Digimon matchup. So keeping that in mind, we had 9 rounds. 1 loss was strictly to the Imperial Digimon in my 9th round, and he just saw the nuts, and I had no answer response. I lost 1 game because I never showed up on time, and then the other one was lost because I failed a deck check. And we already know bad habits. I've killed that bad habit finally, and no surprise here, 7th round. Yep. But all in all, I had a great time, a lot of great matches, definitely really good. So getting top 64 place is not bad. Then we got into the list itself. As you can see, I shaved a Metal Impulse, and then I added an X Antibody Protoform. I started testing Protoform at 2 at my locals, and I really felt like Metal Impulse was such a needed card still that in certain matchups, Imperial Digimon included, if they hit this insecurity, your opponent's going to have a bad time. As you can see, this is kind of where my deck evolved a little bit. Lugamon, the Uku came up 1, and Analog Youth became an Uku, both being really good cards. This was after talking with, you know, the one that placed first at his big event, you know, getting some back and forth, reading his information. It kind of opened my eyes seeing that Uku should be at 3. I mean, consistency on a body, being able to, if they do not answer this and it's uncontested, it generates so much value. And if it goes turn after turn after turn doing this, your opponent's just gonna really have a bad time. So, and especially if you just slam it down and they need to answer the Uku because that Lugamon in raising is gonna come up the following turn, and you slam down the Uku and they don't answer it, you're in a good spot. So just keeping this in mind, we have Dorugoramon, DexDorugoramon, Shine Greymon. Ruin mode is still the same, and we still held on to the Calling for Darkness. Metal Impulse and X Antibody Protoform definitely stuck around because the Protoform was able to let me Digivolve, like similar to Wisdom, being able to reduce the Digievolution cost by 1. But this was more for the thought process of the Ancient Garurumon matchup. Being able to watch them bounce my thing, put Protoform on top, and then bounce the Protoform back, and they only gained no tempo value was really important to take a look at. Because of this, it ended up being a lot of the key factors why I kept it even going forwards was because the Ancient Garurumon matchup, you just had better uses for the Protoform. And I think it still shows valid today. And then now let's get into my recent run. The same thing happened. Didn't lose my real last match until round 9. That's crazy, guys. I survived 9 rounds, never lost a match, and we were kind of just still going. I mean, technically with the ties and stuff like that, definitely made me lose a couple games, and that was vitally important, but we could have definitely got there close enough. But with 3 ties, it definitely hurt my run a little bit. Imperial Dramon, I won 1, lost 1. He's a really cool dude. He definitely did well. Levia, I had game 1, and then game 2, he just murked me, and then we just never got to game 3. Ended up in a tie. Just really cool dude. You know, Mirage, Ancient Guru. You know, these are the matchups I was prepared to face with my list, and it was designed for that. The only bad matchup, and I'm still trying to learn it, is the 7th grade Demon Lord matchup. It's either a tie or a loss with me. I have yet to 2-0 that matchup yet, and it bugs me that I still can't get that matchup down, so I need to get more practice in it before I'm comfortable. But as you can see, there was some modifications in the list. First off, I brought Psychmon in for the 7th grade Demon Lord matchup. I viewed it as a way of slowing them down while I build up and raising, because again, being able to slow them down just a little bit allows us to gain some momentum and get some damage thresholds in. So keeping this in mind, we have like the Ukus, the DexDoruga, you know, everything's kind of the same. We took out for Hellugarmon as another way of dealing with ancient threats or anything with aces, just to keep our hand size down a little bit, because people were going to start playing Hexablow. And I couldn't always guarantee the even trade that it needed to be. And I figured if, let's say, they went Hexablow with, you know, an ace underneath it, I could slam down Helluga, pop their threat, and remove it. So information is really important, especially. So I viewed it as a piece that could definitely help out against certain matchups with Hexablow. And at the end of the day, I started to realize I don't need it to deal with Hexablow. So this was a learning lesson in my thought. As you can see, also Metal Impulse came out, and that's fine in my opinion. I don't think we needed Metal Impulse after a little bit. I love that it's a great, powerful option, but I figured bring down DexDorugoramon to 1 Helluga, just so we had some more evolution lines. And then I teched in 1 Mega Gargomon Ace. This was from Ben's idea and game plan for the Imperial Dramon matchup. And I realized that having, you know, a way of preventing them from being able to, then one of their Digimon or Tamers cannot unsuspend or Digivolve until the end of their turn. So being able to lock down their evolutionary line really does help out, and I like how this went. Mega Gargomon Ace is really good card, and I think it does what I needed to. But after playing the tournament, there was a lot of time Mega Gargomon Ace was only grabbable with Analog Youth, and if I didn't grab it with that, it was just a whiff with Wisdom Training or anything like that. So, and I definitely brought down the Uku again and the Luga to produce the Psychmon tech. And I don't think it's a bad call, especially preventing your opponents from reducing their play costs, especially against you-know-who. And I'm talking to you, 7th grade Demon Lords. So my nervousness for the 7th grade Demon Lord matchup, and I didn't want to just instant lose against it. So I figured Psychmon could definitely stall us out to the point where they would have to eventually activate their Digimon's effect. And if we could get a stack with, let's say, Dorugray with it, and we can get into DexDoruga with, you know, Psychmon or anything like that, or we had Dorugamon with a Psychmon on board, they couldn't really comfortably go into their big boy, because what's going to happen is they're going to swing, do the when attacking to add all, and then basically try to pop us, and then because they're doing their when attacking skill, we would instantly do the Digivolve to DexDoruga to de-Digivolve it back, and then basically it would not be able to win game, because the way that it's worded is you can't do both when attacking, so one has to resolve, and one of them, if I remember Ogudamon's way of wording, let me pull it up. The thought process was setting up the DexDoruga just every single time. So let's take a look at Mr. Ogudamon here. So when digivolving, when attacking, you may place up to 7 traits with different trash in this bottom of the Digivolution. If 4 or more were placed, delete one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. This is vitally important because if you have 4 or more were placed, delete one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. So they could easily select something else, but eventually they're going to have to attack with the Agudamon and then basically the protection skill. If I left, well, there's multitude of things I would do. So the DexDoruga was just the only thing on my board. The Darugamon with DexDoruga would definitely keep them at bay. Psychomon wasn't as needed at that point. Sorry for the confusion. It's not, I forgot. Yeah. So you would basically, he would delete for its when attacking skill. I would get popped. I would digivolve DexDoruga, and then I think I would digivolve him at that point, if I remember correctly. It made them play around it a little bit because of the deletion, because it is a when attacking. I know turn players get priorities and stuff like that, so he might have played too cautiously around it and not cared, but DexDoruga definitely really does matter. The only problem came down to was that they would do the Lucemon shenanigans. And unless they went to just regular Lucemon underneath, they would just slam down Lucemon Chaos Mode and just do Chaos Mode shenanigans and basically force my pop. At the end of the day, really solid gameplay and same strategies here. Wolf, Callings, just all the good stuff here. I think we had a good run with it, but I think this is where I'm going with the future of it. So first off, we're bringing Uku back to 3. Psychomon's just not needed. I feel like the Psychomon was just holding me back. I like that it was a spicy tech. It just wasn't working. But I'm going to bring DexDoruga Gray back up to 2 because there was a lot of times I needed this to be there. I'm not even joking. This needed to be in the trash, and if I didn't have it, I was really struggling. But I'm going to try out Grand Quagamon Ace. I know I'm not going to get the DP boost that I want, but I know this effect here. On play, when digivolving, suspend 2 of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. Cards with this effect suspended can't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase, but then delete one of your opponent's suspended Tamers. So what I view this as is, because Imperial Dramon likes to spend their crap, their Tamers, Davis and Ken, is usually fucking suspended, and you can't answer the damn thing. So Quagamon Ace will now allow us to activate that, especially if they do their shenanigans. Being able to make it so they can't unsuspend locks them out too, so that their Imperial Dramon is not swinging anymore. So even if they go into dragon mode afterwards, they're not unsuspending, so you lock them out. So they're only going to get 1 attack in, and that's kind of the end goal. I don't mind them digivolving up if we can keep Grand Quagamon Ace live. But being able to kill the damn Davis and Ken, because that's always the problem, is what I'm looking at this. This also can help against killing Shotos. Shoto now wants to be suspended. Well, let me answer it with a Grand Quagamon Ace, because if I can't get those fucking attacks in, that's the problem. So taking a look at this now, I think we're in a good spot going in the future. I think I want to test Grand Quagamon Ace. I think it's a good tech, and just being able to get that extra security check, especially on decks that don't go above our threshold in DP, this might really matter. So at the end of the day, like, even Mega Gargo Ace wasn't going to gain the value out of the code crackers or IGs because it is not a valid target. But with Grand Quagamon Ace, though, we can take advantage of something else, though, and that is Ruin Mode. So if I went on to Mega Gargo, I couldn't use Shine Greymon Ruin Mode, which sometimes I needed that thing to do what it needed to do. And that was vitally important too. So taking a look at it, DexDorugoramon, like the list is back to its base prime, and calling is staying for a bit because being able to pop and then do all your crazy shenanigans and being able to get your ace back and the Ruin Mode, I think we got a good solid game strat. So this is kind of where I'm going with it. What do you guys think of my future? Is this kind of where you guys are thinking? I know I did a lot with preparations, and even I got deck checked again at a Carta Regional. But I think at the end of the day, I'm really happy that all in all, I did well. From 68th to 40th, and still not losing any true games, and that makes me happy. So guys, this is what I wanted to talk about before we end the video, and this seems to be the best way of talking about it. I wanted to talk about some of the purple bases matchups that you would most likely come across in any major event, and just say how I feel against them and what's the thought process behind them. So first off, Imperial Dramon. This is a feel of luck, to be straight honest with you. If they have the nuts, you are not winning this matchup. This matchup becomes a really bad time because as long as they can suspend their tamer, you're going to have some trouble. And this is where I'm thinking about adding the ace, because if you can kill the Davis and Ken early enough, and then they can't do anything afterwards, and you'll be able to lock down their, Imperial Dramon, and then you can build up another stack come out the following turn because they're not going to be able to unsuspend. This is why Grand Quagamon might be more beneficial to you at the end of the day. I think Dramon's a great card. The Imperial Dramon deck is really challenging, especially when it comes down to when they have their option up. The key point in this is to de-digivolve the stack, because if you can get them off the Dramon's inheritable and make it a champion, your level 6 will delete it as long as you've done the Dorugamon whole shenanigans. It's just really good to pay attention on how this matchup, and a well-timed ace against this deck can shut them down from comboing off. Diaboromon, it's a slightly challenging matchup if you don't see your pieces. If not, you're in a really good solid matchup. I faced Diaboromon a couple times during the event, and in the in-person regionals, and I didn't have any issues going into this deck. I think this is a fine deck you can play against and you have nothing to really worry about. Mirage Gauga. Mirage is another matchup that I think a lot of people don't understand how to play with. This deck is a challenge sometimes. It's knowing where your memory sits and how you set up, especially if they have Mirage Gauga up, they've already bounced, they've put you to 2. If you have a mem setter already, you're pretty decently set. Just know where to taunt, because keeping your hand size small is your goal. Your goal is to give them only max 1 to 2 memory. So hard playing your tamers, anything like that's going to help keep momentum going, and that's what you really want to do. And then when you taunt them, that is when you start clearing their board. They run Hexablow in their list, and just be very cautious about that card, especially well timed. They'll get rid of your tamer if you are stripped completely blank, but you're winning this matchup at least 70% of the time. There are sometimes they can combo off and go faster than you, but they are able to bounce a lot of your threats. So just keep this in mind. This is where Protoform kind of comes in too, because they're not gaining any value for, bouncing your guy with Protoform on it, putting Protoform on the top, because of how it works and the interaction is. You get your piece, Protoform goes to the top, Protoform gets added to hand. So they didn't really hit you for any security. You kind of just, broke even with them. And they basically lost all tempo. So this is where Protoform kind of gains some advantage in itself. So Mirage Galga, just think about what you're doing. You definitely have a very good matchup into this because they don't have aces as consistent enough. Their only big ace is Zudamon Ace, and then they might have Paildramon Paladin mode. So Imperial Dramon Paladin mode. So just keep that in mind there. Then you have Hexablow. This is more of the loop deck of the Galaxy. Not really a loop deck, but just Galaxy's interactions and how Galaxy's blue toolbox, as we'll say. The Hexablow is really powerful. This is where you guys kind of just see Mirage, Hexablow, and then Apollo. The whole point is that they're going to hit your security, but you're going to stabilize. That's the goal. Your goal is to stabilize against them to the point where you get your DexDoruga in trash. As long as they don't get Paladin mode as fast. Again, they can't search Hexablow, they can't search Mirage, they can't search the Mirage. In Paladin mode, Hexablow are 3 cards they cannot search, and they play these at high numbers to hopefully get them in their hand. So, I mean, the only problem is going to be is if they get Imperial Dramon to Digivolve for free, and then you get smacked around by Imperial Dramon. But outside of that, this deck matchup definitely feels like you're in the favor of. You're not really struggling much. You can kill their Tamers very consistently. There's nothing to really worry about. Ancient Garu. Ancient Garu is definitely another favored matchup. This matchup is kill their Tamers and make sure they don't gain access to their Memory Tamer consistent enough. As long as you can keep them at bay, red or blue base, you can easily win. Goal is to basically, with the deck, get them to 2 damage left and then go for game, go for broke. Being able to digivolve their Ancient Garu is super important, so being able to hold on to the DexDoruga in hand is vitally important. Tyrant Kabuterimon. Tyrant is basically what you're going to want to do is taunt the second body that's played and then pass it to their turn, get into your ready position to attack, and then have them swing with the taunted. It's going to attack, and your goal is to digivolve not into Daruga, because you could definitely digivolve into Daruga and just pop the Tyrant. What your goal is to digivolve the threat, because now they can't get back into it easily, because if you can bring him back to the rookie, you're in a good spot. But at the end of the day, you can easily just do Dorugamon and boom, you're level 6 to pop it, because you're going to block with the against the one that's just attacking, and because Tyrant's no longer suspended, it's standing up, you can just remove it as a threat. So just keep that in mind. Ancient Greymon, you definitely are more favored into this matchup. It is one of their worst matchups because we do have so many protections and we can block very easily, and being able to digivolve is huge against them. Shine Greymon, you are definitely more advantage against them because of the way they play. They don't have a lot of outs to what you do, and again, their DP threshold minusing is not going to always work unless they've already DP minus you enough to do it. But at the end of the day, you can kill their Tamers, you can keep them in check. Outside of that, you can digivolve, and that's really their bigger weakness. Dominionmon, they play a lot of aces, and you just love aces. DexDoruga, it just kills most aces at any general point. At the end of the day, you have the best tempo, and that's what you want to do. So just keep this in mind. This is how you want to play against it. Then you do have Magna X Antibody, Blocker, Armor Purge. This thing is nasty and sometimes really hard. I'm going to split it up between the two. Yellow Vaccine and Blue Base kind of now feel like a good matchup between the two. Yellow Vaccine's version of Magna X Antibody is a lot of thought process and thinking. At the end of the day, I have no issues on where we're going with it. I played against it now, and with the restrictions in place, the deck definitely feels like a 60-40 in our favor now, just because we can get over it a little bit. But it really comes down to if they are playing full play set of Naru eggs or not. I mean, yes, they are removing their security for it, but it becomes a grind matchup, and you just have to make sure they don't paladin mode ace you at the right time. Blue base, you're in a better spot because you can taunt them and then block and just get rid of the threat before their DP bonuses activate. It's just the yellow vaccine. If they have Naru egg, you're not gonna get the, you're not gonna trade well enough. Fenrir Luga Takamazuchi here. This deck is 50-50, definitely luck base. If they see their pieces, you're screwed. If you don't, you're screwed. So it's basically, if they can get the damage in early enough, you're kind of in a bad spot. So just play to your outs. Analog Youth, very important in this matchup. So are Digimon Emperors. Getting 2 Emperors down against them makes it so they have to Digivolve in Raising, which slows down their tempo, means they don't get their Tamer easily, and that's what you kind of want to do, is just slow them down. As long as the Emperor's on the board, basically they can't promote up. If they have the Mem Setter, you want 2 Emperors. If they don't, you just want 1 Emperor. This matchup is definitely can be very much your favor. If they chip in 1 damage though, they can, a couple points of damage, they can OTK you without breaking a sweat. Then you have 7 Great Demon Lords. This matchup is a tough one. I still need to figure out something with it. I know what's his name told me that you can deal with Lucimon if you even trade with it. So if you even trade with it, you supposedly can pass turn priority, so that you do the protection skill, you do that, pass the on deletion priority to them, let them play their body, and then you activate your Wind Digivolving effect to kill what they just played. I think that's how that works. If somebody can fix that wording for me, I just want to double check that, but let me know. I think that might be where you kind of get the win from, is being able to take down their Lucimons and letting them play their body, because they're going to use Lucimon to kind of just deal with your stuff, and you just want to get those extra points of damage to kind of keep them off board. So stuff like that is vitally important. I'm still feel like this matchup is definitely more favored for them. I think it's a 30-70 to them on 70, but that's just me. I think we have a better chance. I just need to play more of this. Mother D Reaper, black base, any purple base, we are actually in a good spot against them, because we can climb over Mother D Reaper very consistently. Their Mother D Reaper doesn't matter. We can go all the way up. If they especially give us enough, that Mother will die. And they are a ace-based deck, and we kind of answer aces very consistently. And because if we answer an ace, we're in the better spot, because we can pop and remove any ace we want. So just stuff like this is vitally important, but I think this is a good information to kind of give you that answer of how I feel in certain matchups. Really, this and this one are my, I would say these 3 decks right here are our worst matchups in the format. The Imperial Dramon, Takamazuchi, and 7 Great Demon Lords. I think everything else in the playing field is our field day. We are still classified a rogue deck, but I think this is really good information for you guys. What do you guys think? Let me know. But guys, what did you think of this video? Let me know down in the comments. Guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.